Hello, friends. This is Dr. John WorldPeace JD, Doctor of Law. I'm not a MD or a PhD. I want to talk to you this morning about a subject with kind of a long title. It's called The End of Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, and the Zionists and the Awakening of America's Evangelical and Fundamentalist Christians and rejection of the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation is a pile of convoluted, fantasy, crazy gobbledegook. It is supported by huckster false preachers like John Hagge from Austin, San Antonio, Texas. Makes a lot of money selling the book of Revelation explanation, according to him, and the coming of Jesus, who will come out of the sky and take all the faithful Christians to a new Jerusalem of perfect peace that can only come into existence if Jesus, once arriving in the new Jerusalem, turns every one of the forever saved into white marble for eternity. Only the lack of interaction between human beings will create a perfect peace. The nature of this universe has changed, and that's why there is so much chaos, constant incoming and outgoing souls. Nobody gets along. Even the best of friends have problems. Only the lack of interaction between human beings will create a perfect peace. The Christian fantasy is the same one that all the Jews believed 2,000 years ago. That the Messiah would come out of the sky with an army of angels who would destroy the Romans and establish a forever after New Jerusalem consisting of only Jews at that time, and now Jews have been changed to Christians. All others go to hell. But Jesus came with a message of peace, for which he was crucified. It seems a lot of Christians didn't get the memo. Jesus didn't come with an army of angels 2,000 years ago, and he's not going to come with an army of angels now. And it's not going to happen. It's fantasy. It's a book that was written by nobody really knows who. Not Jesus. Jesus didn't speak those words, and Jesus didn't write those words in the book of Revelation. Here's the reality. Jesus died, descended into hell for 3 days, rose from the dead in a new body, showed himself to the disciples and about 500 others per the book of Acts of the Apostles. That was the second coming. It's already happened, friends. Jesus said, Lo, I'm with you always, and where two or more are gathered in my name, I will be present. In short, after his resurrection, Jesus never left. My proof is that every Sunday in churches all over America, they acknowledge that Jesus is present. Not a single Christian will stand up and say that Jesus is not present in that church, their church, but he will be back someday. Nobody's going to say that because they don't believe it. Jesus is present in the church. Jesus cannot return if he never left. That is the reality of true modern-day Christianity. It is the main argument against the book of Revelation. There's not going to be a second coming. It already happened. Jesus is here. Further, Jesus said, nobody knows about the end times but God. Not the angels, not Jesus, only God. But then in about 100 CE, John the Apostle was exiled on the Isle of Patmos, and his disciple, John the Elder, probably wrote the book of Revelation that revealed, allegedly, the mind of God. This is a nobody that's going to write down what God thinks and believes. He revealed what Jesus said, even he did not know. Jesus said he didn't know. The writer does not identify himself as Apostle John, one of the original 12 apostles. In truth, no one knows who actually wrote the book of Revelation. And the intro to the book of Revelation by Catholics 1,600 years ago, when the final canon of the present-day Christian Bible was finalized, said no one knows who wrote the book. The Catholics didn't know 1,600 years ago. They do not say that the Apostle John wrote it. But one thing just about everybody agrees on is that Jesus did not speak or write the book of Revelation. The writer attributes the messages to the 7 churches at the first of the book of Revelation to Jesus. This is a message that no one heard but the writer of Revelation. In the 4 Gospels, the words of a physical Jesus were heard by all the disciples and thousands of others who gathered to hear Jesus teach. But in the book of Revelation, no one was there to hear the alleged words of Jesus or see the vision of Jesus but the writer. Further, all the parables that Jesus spoke before the crucifixion were clearly explained to the disciples. The book of Revelations have never been clearly explained by Jesus or anybody else. The gobbledegook vision has never been explained. There have been hundreds of books written about the book of Revelation. Everyone who wants to make a few bucks writes an explanation about the abstract symbols and visions and such in the book of Revelation. To date, nothing in the book of Revelations has been shown to be true. Now, here's a very interesting thing. Those who have written about the book of Revelation have made one thing absolutely clear, that the false prophet, the beast, will be known by the number 666. Well, friends, there presently is a highly placed person in the Trump administration who is known by the number 666. And that person is Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, whose flagship real estate organization is listed as 666 Fifth Avenue, New York. Allegedly, the property was sold in August of 2018, but the details of the actual deal is a secret. Within the next 2 years, I'm sure the Democrats will get to the bottom of the 666 Kushner deal. Undeniably, he tried to use his access to Trump to refinance the Fifth Avenue property, which he bought for $1.8 billion. It was a dog that he bought in 2007. Now, guess what? Not a single solitary one of the many authors of an explanation of the book of Revelations has stood up and verified that the beast, the false prophet, is Jared Kushner, or has explained why Jared Kushner is not the 666 beast of Revelation. The silence on the issue is deafening. Whatever the financial deal on 666 Fifth Avenue is, the fact remains that Kushner is associated with that property. And that number is clearly the number the book of Revelation explainers have been talking about big time since Israel became a nation in 1948, and more so since the book The Late Great Planet Earth, written by Hal Lindsey in the 70s, created a further book of Revelation frenzy that makes the false preachers a whole lot of money. Jesus was expected to show up in 2000, Y2K, remember that? Then in December 2012. It did not happen. I feel that if Jesus does not show up in the next 2 years, All the foolish people who believed all the greedy Book of Revelation explainers will be ignored, and I guess we'll have to hang around until the year 3000 to see what happens. There was a lot of fear and anticipation in the year 1000 also. The fundamentalists and evangelicals want the Jews to take over Palestine, the Temple Mount, build the third Temple of Solomon, which the book of Revelation says will happen before Jesus returns. When the fundamentalists and evangelicals give up on the second coming, a huge portion of the Trump base will collapse. And that will be the end of him. And so the article above, which predicts that Netanyahu holds the fate of Israel, is wrong. The fate of Israel is held by the fundamentalists and evangelicals in America. When that group of misled Christians comes to understand they have been manipulated by false preachers since 1948, when Israel was established as being the beginning of the countdown to the second coming, then the support for Israel will collapse without Netanyahu, and the glory days of Israel will forever be extinguished. Let me turn your attention to another factor with regards to the book of Revelation. The core of Jesus' teaching beyond love one another was an ongoing prophecy of the future. Jesus taught, ask and receive, seek and find, knock and enter. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Nothing will be impossible for you. And if you believe in me, you'll do the works I do, and greater works will you do. What this means, friends, is that the future, humanity, will write that script. And whatever script the world human society writes for the future will manifest in the future. The fundamentalists and evangelicals are projecting a doom and gloom message for the future. It's a sick projection. Soon, the majority of Christians will wake up to this realization and at that time completely reject that doom and gloom future and become free to craft a more sane and just and more loving world human society. Jesus says to the disciples, to anyone listening, you create your own future. At that time, the apartheid state of Israel has spent the last 70 years ethnically cleansing Palestinians from Palestine and forcing those people into 58 refugee camps around the Middle East, and 2 million more Palestinians locked in a concentration camp in Gaza that the Israelis, the Zionists, maintain, and the illegal annexing of occupied territories of Palestine will once and forever terminate. So the truth is that if Jesus does not return in the next 2 years, Israel will collapse under the boycott, divestiture, sanctions movement as the world reacts to 70 years of murderous, Zionist, anti-Semitism they have enforced on the Palestinians. Coincidentally, this is going to take place at a time of the November 2020 elections in the United States for president and seats in the Senate and the House of Representatives. Out will go the Republicans and the book of Revelation and the evangelical and fundamental Christian fog and the beginning of a liberal New World Order that will actually rapidly transform the world human society. The Democrats are on a fast track to implode the reality of Donald Trump and probably place him either in jail or on the sidewalks in New York City selling pencils from a tin cup to keep himself supplied with fast food hamburgers and fries and shakes. Friends, the book of Revelations is a lie. It's a bunch of gobbledegook. It's not reality. Jesus didn't write it. Jesus says we're going to set our own future. Nothing is set in stone. Think about it. Thank you for your consideration. Have a good day.